Hi, this is Chris Hooper coming from Hampton, Virginia, and I'm with Jim Dyson, and we are viewing a collection of Chelsea timepieces that Jim has put together over the last 30 years, and I will let Jim take it away.
Welcome everybody to Hampton, Virginia. I'm just going to get right into the clocks. This is my part-time hobby and I just love it. And if you want to get some more information that I may overlook here while we're talking, you can go to chelseaclockmuseum.com, and there's a website there, and it's got a lot of the clocks that you'll see here today, and it'll be updated shortly for more clocks. But let's start in 1880 with Joseph Henry Eastman. He worked prior to 1880 for the E. Howard Watch Company, and in 1880 he started with the Harvard Clock Company. And these are some examples of Harvard clocks. Being a watchmaker at Howard, he decided that a balance wheel clock was better than a pendulum clock because you didn't have to keep it plumb. And this is a very early Harvard with what they call an open escapement, where you can look in and see the balance wheel. And this is called a lattice clock. There are only two known examples of this clock. This is another Boston that shortly after Eastman started, he was having trouble selling his time-only clocks, so he decided to add on a striking mechanism. And this particular clock, you wind it one way for time and the other way for strike. Very complicated movement, and it strikes a bell on the back. And this is the only known example of this clock in this kind of unusual case. This clock is called a pedestal engine room clock, and it's got an open escapement, which is very unusual for an engine room clock because you can get the bugs and the dirt can get in there and fingers can get in there, but it looks really good. So there are only a few of those. This is the only known example on a pedestal. In addition to fancy shelf clocks and engine room clocks, Eastman also made carriage clocks. And this is the only known example of his early Queen Anne model. He only made about 100 carriage clocks. This is the only known example of this Queen Anne model. This is another model here. I don't know what you call it, but it's got kind of an Art Deco look to it, but it was made in 1882, and there are about 3 or 4 examples of this. But this one is unusual in that it has a radially set dial pattern where the numbers are in a radial form, and it also has a little hand-painted artwork right here. And usually those things, it's a scene, it's a meadow scene, those things are usually scrubbed away and gone by the time you see one of these 140 years later, but that one's all there. Here's another engine room clock with an open escapement. There are only 6 of these Harvard marine clocks with open escapements known, and here happens to be a little smaller one with a 5-inch dial. And this one was, both of these were cased by Crosby Steam Gauge and Valve Company, and I was lucky enough to get this very small decorative plaque, a period plaque, from Crosby Steam Gauge and Valve to put on this mounting board. Now, I told you about the striking clock down there that Eastman made. Here's a striking carriage clock with the same